Hey guys, how are you? I hope you guys had a wonderful day of worship. I know I did. I had a great time at church today, as usual. And then afterwards, I left and went to go visit my kids. It was my son's birthday. I stopped off with him and dropped him off a card. And then I met up with my daughter and I talked to my other daughter on the phone. And so they're all going through problems, child. They're they're in their 20s, and of course, being in your 20s is a time of great turbulence. you know, it's transition, you're going through changes, you're evolving, first time experiences of dealing with problems on your own. You're like, oh, how do I deal with this? And so I'm continuously telling them, I'm sitting there listening to each one of them complain about situations they're going through. And I'm like, turn it over to God. But mom, this, that, God will deal with it. Just trust God. Trust the Lord to guide you through it. I know you haven't encountered this type of situation before, but God already knew it was coming. God will create a way for you to get out of the situation. And they're just looking at me like, we just can't win and telling you how overwhelming this is. We can't win. It's always God. It's always God. I'm like, yes. I was like that. If you've learned nothing from me, and watching me, evolve into who I've become, because I grew up with them, especially my oldest son. I grew up with him. So he watched me go through times, and I turned my situations over to the Lord, and he kind of had to reflect on that. And so, I told him no matter how big the problem is, our God is bigger. Our God is bigger than any situation, any complication, anybody that comes into our lives and causes us problems. And so it made me think about the Psalms that I've been reflecting on, which is Psalms 4. And Psalms 4 shows us that when David is going through crisis and when things are happening in David's life, he knows exactly who to turn to, right? So starting with verse 1, he says, "Answer me when I call to you, O God who declares me innocent. Free me from my troubles. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. How long will you people ruin my reputation? How long will you make groundless accusations? How long will you continue your lies? You can be sure of this: the Lord set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will answer when I call to him." So basically, what David is going, he's under attack, you know, um, and basically what he is saying to his enemy or enemies is that because I have a relationship with God, because of who I belong to, I know that no matter what you try to do, no matter what type of weapons you try to form against me, God is going to show up for me, you know. And this is being loudly spoken in these verses. And so David was a conqueror, you know. David was an overcomer. He was a conqueror. He fought and won so many battles with the help of the Lord. And that is a lesson for us all. So continuing on with verse 4, he says, "Don't sin." He's talking to his enemies. "Don't sin by letting anger control you. Think about it overnight and remain silent. Offer sacrifices in the right spirit and trust the Lord." Careful what, in other words, be careful what you do to me and what you say about me. Think about it before you do it. You know, Continuing on in verse 6, many people say, "Who will show us better times? Let your face smile on us, Lord. You have given me greater joy than those who have abundant harvest of grain and new wine." David is understanding and appreciating here his relationship with God, and basically saying nothing is greater than that. I don't care what you have, the world has to offer. Nothing is greater. Nothing is of more value than the relationship that I have with God. He ends and closes with verse 8 and says, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, will keep me safe." Again, and I was telling my kids this today, you can rest in the fact that God is going to show up for you. You can rest in the fact that God knew this situation was already going to present itself before it came to your attention, and he's already created a way out for you. And so David was going through this situation where he was being attacked, but because he had a relationship, not a temporary, you know, state of every once in a while speak to the Lord, show up to church on holidays. He had a relationship with God. And that's when God shows up in those hard times. He already has his eyes set on you. He's already fixed and ready for any and prepared for any attack that the enemy might wage against you, because he had that primary relationship with God. And he knew, because God has shown up in my life before, I know that he will show up in this situation. And no matter how stressful it might be, no matter how mighty my enemy might be, or greatly numbered they might be, or how bad that situation might seem, greater is he that's in me than he that is in the world. And so he knew that he served a mighty God. And I just wanted to end with this, believers. We're all going through situations. Life presents itself, and plays itself out. And sometimes some days are easier to deal with and cope with, and others are not. Some situations you'll be dealing with difficult people that are just trying to give you a hard time because they're miserable. People feel like they have entitlement to the things that you have, or they're jealous and they want to speak negatively about you. you know don't let it stress you out. And this is kind of a continuation of Psalms 3, that we were talking about. Don't be afraid of attacks from people in the world, when you know that if God be for you, who can stand against you? You know. So with that said, I pray that your week is blessed. I pray that you're turning your problems over to God. It- I don't care if it's just relationship problems within your marriage, friendships, just turn over to God. God will deal with it. God will give you wisdom and knowledge on how to be a conqueror, how to achieve success in no matter what situation you're going through, no matter how bad life hits you. God will show you a way out. Okay? So, with that said, be blessed, and I'll see you very soon.